I'm gonna chase it, and I'm gonna chase it. I know we can't ignore it, no matter how hard we try. And I'm gonna chase it, and I'm gonna chase it. I know we can't ignore it, no matter how hard we try. Fire in the veins, I fight to gain, breaking all the rules to keep me sane. Living the moment till I die. And I'm gonna chase it, and I'm gonna chase it. I know we can't ignore it, no matter how hard we try. And I'm gonna chase it, and I'm gonna chase it. I know we can't ignore it, no matter how hard we try. No matter how hard we try.
Welcome to 4th and 10U, the home of college football for everyone. Whether you're a die-hard fan who lives for Saturdays or just getting into the game, you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button and join the team. This is 4th and 10U, where every play is a chance to make history.
Good evening, good day, good morning, or, good afternoon to some, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to a brand new episode of 4th and 10U, where every breakdown dives deep and every angle is teased. And I know some of you in the comments are going to say, hey, the last episode you promised shorter intros, shorter episodes. I know. But let's be real. Week 1's titanic clash between Ohio State and the Texas Longhorns deserves the cinematic treatment it deserves, right? I mean, let's be real. This game is going to be massive. I can't wait to get into it. I really can't. And yeah. But before we get into that, do me a favor, especially you in the back. Yeah, you, the guy with the red hat. Make sure you do me a favor. Hit the like button. If you're new, please subscribe. Turn on the notification bell. We're going to start having more and more episodes. I know we've been off. If you missed it in the last episode that I put out, which was the Miami Hurricanes versus Notre Dame matchup, which I'm kind of thinking that the Hurricanes might pull off an upset, to be honest. The reality is this, life gets in the way. Both Mike and I, we have kids. We have summer stuff gets planned. I had family come from out of town. We had to take a break for a hot minute. But now we're back in the fold, right? Mike's still kind of, on vacation just a little bit. He'll be back soon. I promise. I'm also going to be having some more people, not just Mike, around. We're going to have some regular guests that come on. I have some people I've talked to, and we're planning something special throughout the season. We might even have a Big Ten panel, Big Ten roundtable at some point. We might even have an ACC roundtable or an SEC roundtable, or whatever panel or debate, depending what conference we're talking about. We'll have people on both sides of the line. It would be a lot of fun and very, very exciting. So, as I said, make sure that you hit the like button. You subscribe if you're new. turn on the notification bell. And yeah, let's get into it. It's the Ohio State Buckeyes versus the Longhorns. And who is going to win? The question is, who's going to win? Will it be Ohio State? Will it be the Longhorns? Or will it be Ohio State or will it be the Longhorns? I don't know. What I do know is that this is starting to feel like one of the most biggest clashes that we've seen in a long time. Why does it matter, you might ask? Maybe you're not familiar, or maybe you were just absent from last year if you didn't watch and you didn't watch the college football playoff. This game isn't just another opener. It's a rematch loaded with playoff implications. Last season's college football playoff semifinal saw Ohio State knock the Texas Longhorns out with 28-14 win. Now that the Longhorns are gunning for redemption under the lights in Columbus at the Shoe, it's the how do I say this? The implications are higher. The stakes are higher. The excitement is higher. The energy is higher. This is starting to become one of the best matchups ever, in my opinion. Right? Let's actually, before we get into it, who's excited for college football? Right? I don't know if it's just me, but this year has been exciting. I mean, look at week 1. It's not just this game, right? This game is probably one of the biggest. You have number 1 Texas versus number 3 Ohio State, right? That's one of the biggest immediate week 1 matchups ever, right? You look at Notre Dame versus the Hurricanes. That game is massive, as I said in my past video. Why? Because you have 2 programs vying for acknowledgement, right? You have the Fighting Irish, who haven't won it in forever, and they almost got the job done until they had to face the Buckeyes. Let's be real, right? They walked through everybody. Oh, Penn State, they move past them like butter, right? And they get to Ohio State, and they had one of the most amazing first drives ever. But was it enough? No, it wasn't enough. Ohio State beat them, right? And then on the other side, you have the Miami Hurricanes, who really haven't seen any real excitement since what? The 90s, early 2000, right? People say they got the black flag with all the NCAA crashing on them because of recruiting violations and whatnot, right? You talk about South Florida excitement. They actually think they created the game, right? That's what they think. The Miami Hurricanes, they spent a lot of money with guys like Cam Ward and in a lot of the recruits they brought in. This year, no difference. Cam Ward's not here, right? But they have actually a prolific quarterback with Georgia, right? From Georgia, I'm sorry. And you look at, some of the recruits that they have brought in. They got the number 1, recruit this year, offensive lineman. They have done a lot over there, and they are trying to get over the hump. So you have that game. Then you have LSU versus Clemson. That's a big game. Everybody has a big game week 1. It is going to be super exciting. But yeah, like I said before, hit the like button. Let's get this started. We got a lot to talk about. And you know what? Let's break it down. All right. So as I said before, on paper, these two programs are the nation's elite, right? They have exciting, prolific offense, both of them. They have dominating defense, right? Specifically last year, Texas defense was, they had a defense. They came ready to play, right? And they both have, I would argue both are top 5, top 10 coaches in college football today. No questions asked. But But what's going to make the difference between both of these teams? What is going to be the difference maker? Ohio State has the hometown, home field, advantage and championship pedigree. Texas carries swagger, cohesion, and a historic 11-game road win streak. I believe that's correct. They got a lot. Both of them have very highly recruited, high-ranking quarterbacks. One's actually, he's a legacy-born quarterback, right? Arch Manning, right? He has his name to play for. This weekend, I don't think people understand what the ramifications are. It's not just a number 1 versus number 3. It's not just college football playoff. It's not just for college football dominance. It's not for dynasty. It's not for that. It's not just all that. You have a man that is going to step out into the spotlight and prove that he's a Manning, right? And when I say Manning, we talk about guys like Peyton, Eli, Arch, right? Or Archie, I'm sorry. These guys, they proved they played in the NFL at a very high level, right? It'll be very, very interesting because we've only seen maybe a play here or a play there, very little from Manning. And this is the first time he's getting a full-blown start and against a very highly dominant defense, an elite team like Ohio State. So I know some of you are like, what are you talking about? You know what you're talking about because, he's the best. He's the number 1 guy. He's going to be the number 1 overall pick when he gets drafted, all this stuff. Yeah, you could say that. But if you really go back and look at it, what has he done, right? What has he actually accomplished? He's had a play here or there, but has he played a full game, start to finish? Has he played against a dominant defense? Not really, right? So that's why this game is very, very important. Some key storylines to watch. Actually, before we get into that, let's break down some of the interesting factoids with this game, right? Ohio State also enters an era with a new QB as well. A redshirt freshman, Julian Sayin, right? Former Alabama recruit, transferred over when Saban left. Julian Sayin showed promise his first season at Ohio State. However, we already had the guy Will Howard who took Ohio State all the way to the national championship. And no, I should have said this earlier. This is not an Ohio State podcast. I promise. This is a college football podcast. I happen to be an Ohio State fan, but none of this is going to be biased. This game, I'm going to tell you, little spoiler, is going to be much closer than what people think. But let's talk about it. He's marking his first collegiate start, right? So there's that. Texas, I already mentioned, Arch Manning, a highly touted freshman quarterback stepping into the spotlight for the first time, right? Not really the first time. He's been there like a couple plays here or there last year, but this is the first time where he's the QB start to finish, right? Both teams face coaching transitions. Ohio State revamped both its offensive and defensive staffs, right? Brian Hartline becomes the offensive coordinator again after, his tutelage and maybe education that he got last year under Chip Kelly. Shout out to Chip Kelly, who got a promotion to the NFL again. Also with that, we don't have Jim Knowles here anymore, right? Jim Knowles left. That top 5 defense that Ohio State has had under Jim Knowles, he's no longer here. What did Ryan Day and company do? They brought in an NFL top level defensive coordinator, right? Former head coach. He's done a little bit of everything, but this guy knows defense. It's Matt Patricia, the Super Bowl winning Matt Patricia. I'm just going to point that out. A lot of people may not have known that. Texas also brought in NFL caliber coaches as well. In fact, I would argue that both Ohio State and Texas have super coaches teams. And what I mean by that is You look at the level of coaches that they have on both sides, and some of these guys belong in conversations of becoming head coaches, not just at the collegiate level, even in the NFL. So definitely some massive amount of coaching is going to go on in this game. It's going to be like a 4D chess game. It's going to be freaking awesome. I cannot wait. But you got Ryan Day. You have Steve Sarkisian. Massive, and I'm talking about massive heritage, college football heritage, right? We're talking about Sarkisian, who's been around forever, came to be the savior of Texas, and he's built an amazing program. Ryan Day, day one, not even the head coach, takes it and runs with it, right? The guy is 70-10, I believe, record. Who would have ever thought that? 70-10. Some of the greatest coaches don't even have a start like that. All right, just gonna point that out. So as I said before, strategically, Ohio State's new defensive coordinator, Matt Patricia's NFL style scheme, that Texas has studied as well. They're coming prepared just as well. It's going to be very interesting. Ohio State has some of these. I want to say the strength of their defense, in my opinion, is going to come on that front line, the front four, the defensive ends, the defensive tackles, and including the linebackers. We have some really good linebackers over here that I'm hoping that they can contain Manning and don't let him get loose. Because Manning, on the other hand, is very, very athletic. Let's keep moving here. Buckeyes coach Ryan Day believes Ohio State's depth up front, 5 deep, and defensive tackles, as I just mentioned, that is where he's going to try to win the game. It's all going to be up to be the next man up and the adjustments he makes. On the other hand, Sarkisian, offensive mastermind. That's what I like to call him. He runs a very, I wouldn't say wide zone scheme running game, almost a wide zone. It's a West Coast offense, essentially. Very similar to some of the other, West Coast offenses that you've seen. It can be very complex, but it can be very deadly. It can create massive, big plays. Where just like Ohio State has new players in certain positions, you're looking at like maybe they have new offensive linemen, but to be honest, even the backups at Ohio State are good. They're good enough to start, to be honest. So I know that they're gonna have some bumps, like maybe for the first game, but they're gonna build that chemistry fast. I also think Texas is in the same boat. They have a brand new offensive line there, right? Kevin Banks isn't there anymore. I want to say that they also are gonna have some bumps at first, but I think they're gonna get it going quick. If I know Steve Sarkisian is going to get that offensive running, really fast. I would not be surprised. But let's talk about some other, players to look at. Not Manning isn't the only star. We're talking about Ohio State's big time elite star-studded receiver, Jeremiah Smith, the number 1 wide receiver in all of college football, in my opinion, right? This guy is electrifying, has amazing hands. He's like 6'3", 220. Guy runs like a 4.4, maybe even a 4.3 at times. Texas kind of held him tight. They triple covered him. They double covered and triple covered him, right? If you go back and watch the tape in that matchup last year in the college football playoff semifinal. Ohio State will look to get him involved quickly. Very, very quickly. That is something that I think is going to be key to this game. How will Texas counter that, right? Will they have him covered up? That'll be a question. Will Ohio State's next 2 wide receivers, Brandon Inniss, Carnell Tate, will those guys step up? Carnell Tate was really on a good game versus Texas. So I expect him to continue that. Brandon Inniss is going to be the wild card. And why I say wild card, not that I don't think he's not capable. No, he's very capable. He does some things that other receivers don't. If you watch him against Texas or watched him against Oregon or Watched him against Tennessee, for example, right? Even Notre Dame. He did stuff that other wide receivers wouldn't do. He does all the dirty work, the off the ball stuff, right? He's gonna lay the block. He's gonna drag corners with him and everything. But if you think he can't get it done, you don't think that he could possibly get open and get that ball and take off with it. If you don't think he can do that, you got another thing coming, because he can very well get open. But so can the Texas receivers. See, this is the thing. Ohio State lost a lot last year, right? Or this year, I should say, to the NFL. You know, we had a lot of people that were drafted. We lost a lot of starters. But so did Texas. But Texas brought in a lot of people. But so did Ohio State. They retooled. They revamped. You know, they got running backs, new running backs on both sides. It's going to be very, very interesting. Definitely. But let's get into some of the other storylines that's going to go into this, right? You know, it'll be very interesting what happens. The defensive depth and the offensive line dynamics on both sides, as I mentioned before, are really going to be setting the tone of this game. I think it's going to come down to defense on both sides. I think, whoever can get the pressure that maintains pressure on each other's quarterback, right? And they can do that throughout the game. I personally think that's where the game is going to be decided, in the trenches, right? Either you protect him or you don't. That's what it's going to come down to, both sides. Are the offenses going to perform? Yeah, the offenses are going to perform. Even if they triple coverage Jeremiah Smith, I believe Ohio State's offense is going to keep up with Texas's offense. I honestly do. Where it's going to falter is the quarterback. It's going to come down to the quarterback as well, not just the trenches. Like I mentioned before, we've seen Manning a play here, play there. Maybe he did some cleanup work against a not so, dominant team, right? We've seen that. You're going to see him against one of the toughest teams you're going to play this season, right? Tough physical defenses, right? Smash mouth running. That's what I think. I think that even Julian Sand, I didn't talk about him as much as I have Manning. Obviously, he's new, right? We don't really know what to expect. What I can tell you I've seen is the guy has a lot. He does a lot of things well, right? He already looks like he's starting to become a leader. He definitely has arm talent. He's very accurate. He's also athletic too. I can tell you that about Julian Sand. What I can tell you though, is just as much pressure gets to Manning, I think just as much gets to Julian Sand. That's why this game is going to be so close, right? I think both teams are going to perform very well and put on an amazing show at big noon, right? This has all the mechanics for really a primetime matchup, primetime game. It's a shame it's being played at big noon, but it is what it is. That's a different story, different show. We'll talk about it later on. But what I will tell you is that I think that if either Arch or Julian can take that next step, right? Slow the game down on a little bit faster pace than the other, I think that's going to make the difference, right? I mentioned this before. There's a lot of stakes at hand here, right? We have the college football playoff implications. We have the football heritage side of it. Ohio State hasn't lost at home, excluding Michigan, right, since 2021, right? So Michigan is the only exception to this. Texas, with nothing to prove, has become the ultimate road warrior to hostile environments. They have, right? Except against Georgia. For whatever reason, they just can't get it done against Georgia. I don't know what it is. Maybe that was more of a quarterback issue. We'll see. Maybe it was Quinn Ewers. Who knows? We'll find out this year. But through relentless preparation and mental grit, Texas still finds a way to get it done. They played one of the most exciting games. I want to say it was against Arizona last year. Actually, Arizona State, I think it was, in the college football playoff. I thought they had that one. I thought they had Texas on the ropes. They got lucky. But it comes with preparation. And if you don't think Steve Sarkisian's team is not coming prepared, you don't know what's coming, right? Now, I know I sound like, how can I say that? And I'm an Ohio State fan. That wouldn't I want to root for my team? Well, if you don't know what the Buckeyes are about, then you probably won't understand this. The Buckeyes and the Ohio State fan base, right? It's win or go home. We don't care. Winning is everything, right? That's what it means to be an Ohio State Buckeye. That's what it means to be an Ohio State fan. We expect excellence year after year. We expect to win year after year. That's why every time we play Michigan, and let's say we lost, right? Which we have past 4 times. Let's say we lost. That's why Ryan Day, or whoever the coach is, or whoever the players are, gets so much heat from the fan base. That's why they had to have the police outside Ryan Day's house, right? That's why you see people make comments they should not be making about family members. It creates a hatred, right? That's why it is so important for the organization to prove that they have what it takes and win, right? That's why. And it doesn't matter if it's Ohio State versus Michigan, or Ohio State versus Texas, or Ohio State versus Bowling Green, or the University of Toledo, or whatever, lesser, dominant school it may be, whatever conference, doesn't matter, right? It's all about winning, right? That's what this is about. It is win or go home. So, as I said, Ohio State versus Texas. It's not just a week 1 game. It's a statement game, right? Ohio State looks to seize the moment. And, it's going to be very, very interesting. They hope to seize the moment with fresh grit, new faces, hometown pride, while Texas is armed with continuity, right? Composure. And Manning's debut, which is going to be one of the biggest debuts ever. People are questioning, is this guy going to be the next NFL #1 overall draft pick in the 2026 draft? Not according to his grandfather, who's also doubled down and saying that this guy's staying in college his full career. We'll see. We will see. Will experience prevail? Or will the Longhorns sharpen their horns and skewer the Ohio State Buckeyes? Will that happen? Well, all I can say is buckle up, because it's going to be a very, very bumpy ride Saturday, right? So, what is the bottom line? Well, the bottom line is this. College football is back, baby. That is right. And it couldn't start more exciting than ever, right? It is going to be massively exciting, right? I cannot wait. The crowd is going to be the loudest it's ever been, right? They are trying to make this one of the loudest games ever, right? We already got rivalries that even have nothing to do with this game creating distractions all over Columbus, right? You've seen it with Fox Sports and oh, is he going to be one of their main field announcers, or is he going to be one of their in the main stage for Big Noon? No, he got banned. Oh no, he didn't get banned. Who cares about that, right? I know the Ohio State hopeful or the Ohio State fans are probably like, yeah, screw that guy, blah blah blah. That Michigan fan doesn't belong, right? Well, I kind of agree with you. He is kind of a dick, but let him be. Let him be. So when we win, if we win, we can laugh at him, right? We can point out, hey, what do you think now? That's what I'll say. But what I also say is that while this is starting to become a rivalry between us and Texas, it is. It is. There's a lot of, if you don't know, Ohio State and Texas, actually specifically Ohio State, we'll bring it there. They do a lot of recruiting in Texas. So a lot of the players that they have over there, we have talked to at times. Yeah, that happens a lot. We've had players that have transferred from here to Texas. So what I will say is this, is that this is starting to shape up to be a rivalry just as much as the Michigan game. I think it's that kind of stakes. I think both teams know it. Is it a must win for Ohio State? In the comments below, if you think it's a must win for Ohio State, put it below. I want to know. And I want to talk about it in our next episode. If you think it's a must win for Texas, put it there. Right? Think about it. Texas. What better start against an elite, one of the top 5 teams, right, in college football week 1? Right? A big win and maybe lower the pressure. Right? Ohio State, big win against Texas, lowers the pressure for later on in the season. But I think there's still a path for Ohio State to still get to the college football playoff without winning this game. Right? It would be detrimental for Texas if they lose, to be honest. And look, let's be real. There's a lot of people in the media that is saying that Texas is going to win this game, right? And there's quite a few people also think that Ohio State's going to pull this off. But for me, I think whoever wins, it's going to be a matter of like a field goal or just one touchdown. It's going to be super close, in my opinion. It's not going to be a 28-14 game. I'll put it that. There might be a high scoring game, but I think the difference is going to come down to the defense. So again, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, turn on the notification bells, check out some of our old past episodes, right? I'm going to start moving stuff from our other channel. If you haven't been over there, check out the Fins Tailgate. Again, that's the Fins Tailgate. Fins is spelled Fins. Check them out. It's primarily a Miami Dolphins channel, but we talk about all sports there. We had several episodes that we filmed over there. Definitely check it out. We're going to be moving those over here soon. I'm going to be inviting some special guests to speak on certain teams in different conferences, everything from the ACC, SEC, the Pac-12, if it still exists, the Big 12, just kidding, and the SEC and whatnot. So we'll definitely talk about it. If there is a team you want us to break down, please let me know. When Mike gets on the back, he's going to be doing episodes by himself as well. We'll do more collabs together. But it will be very, very interesting. I cannot wait. You know what? Just for my buddy Mike, because he's a big Longhorn friend. Welcome, Horns. But OH. Till next time. Y'all have a good day.